Okay, so today we're going to dive into the 4 R's of a level 10 marriage. So Christian marriage, trying to be level 10, 4 R's. And those 4 R's are responsible, reliable, repentant, and resolved. And so those are words that you probably know of, but I'm talking about actually living this out. Not just knowing of something, but like truly knowing it because you live it. So let's talk about the first one, repentant. So you think about your marriage. By repentant, I'm not talking about you coming and admitting everything necessarily, but are you humble enough in your marriage to be fully known? Do you walk into your marriage with your spouse and they know the real you? Or do you have a bunch of skeletons in the closet that you hide from them and hide from everybody else? Because what I know to be true is that when I go in hiding and I want to protect myself, it actually costs me a lot of energy. And it ends up changing the dynamic for how I can show up with them. Because when I'm hiding something, the energy is going into me self-preserving. So I can't show up for the other person in the relationship. I can't show up for Skylar when my focus is on me. So if I'm not willing to be fully known by my spouse, it might not even be a said disconnect, but there's bound to be a disconnect in your relationship where there's just something missing, and maybe you can't pinpoint it, you can't put your finger on it, but there's something that, there's a gap. And so are you willing to be fully known by your spouse? Or are there areas of your life that you're holding back? And could this video challenge you to be known maybe in a way like never before? And it could be from easy things like when you're struggling, men, right? Does your wife know when you struggle? Do you bring her into that? Or ladies, I often talk to ladies and they're struggling with something and they say, my husband is so stressed out. The last thing I want to do is ask him for help or tell him what I need or share my burdens. But what I found is in those times, I just got off a call with Skylar, and he's like, man, you're such a strong lady, Jessica. It means so much to me when you come to me and you ask for my advice. He felt like he could win because I'm willing to bring all of me, right? I'm willing to bring all my flaws, right? And because we've already moved past the skeletons in the closet. I know who I'm married to in all ways, and he knows who he's married to in all ways. So are you willing to be repentant and just be known in the relationship? Also, number 2, the second R is coming from a place of responsible. So there's a big life philosophy that life either happens to me or life happens for me. And I was sick a couple weeks ago, and I had asked Skylar for a couple things, but didn't really ask him for much while I was sick because he was busy running an event. And the day he was done with the event, I did ask for one thing. I said, babe, can you make me dinner? I had ordered Instacart and had all the ingredients, and I'm not an ingredient person. I don't follow recipes. I like to just do my own thing, but I'd ordered all the stuff in, and I just felt sick, and I couldn't make it myself. So I said, babe, can you make it for me? And he didn't, and it ended up being this big argument. And I started to really define him in that moment by that one decision. And so when I say, are you responsible? What I mean is, do you take into reflection your side of the situation? Right? Regardless of who's at fault, regardless of the situation, we all play a role in the situations we create in our marriages. So whether it's happiness or whether it's disconnection, we play a role in that. And so as he didn't cook me dinner that night, and I wanted to define him by him not doing that and be really, really angry about it, I had to sit back and say, hey, what did I ask him to do that he wasn't willing to do? And it popped into my mind that I asked him to take Jeremiah to dinner with him one night with all the guys, and he took Jeremiah totally willingly. And I'd asked him one other thing, and he didn't. It was just this one thing. So 2 out of 3, if he was a baseball player, he was batting pretty good. 2 out of 3, he fulfilled 2 out of 3 of my requests, but I was going to define him by that one request. So when I say responsible, are you responsible in your marriage to look at your own side, to stay in your lane, and to know that you're not, you don't get, or you can, but you can operate out of being a victim to how your spouse shows up for you, or you can operate out of responsible, saying like, I created this. Even in some of the most angry situations that I've encountered with wives that I work with in the Rise Up Queens program, where they are so mad at their spouse, right? And they just like hate them, and they don't want to connect with them and don't want to do anything. The moment, like there's rage, right? The moment they check in and say, well, how have I contributed to this? Right? What boundaries have I not set? Or what boundaries have I, or what's been my role in this? Have I been passive? Have I not asked for what I wanted? And like in that moment, if a woman's willing to be reflective, she gains back her power. Like she's not helpless. She's not powerless. She has a choice to which way this direction in the marriage is going to go. So if you've been feeling hopeless, like, man, I want my marriage to be different, but I just can't. There could be that could be a minor indication that you've been operating just out of the victim, out of reaction to how your husband's been being. And so I challenge you with this video to just, is there an area where you can be responsible? What's been your part in it if you're willing to look at it? So thirdly, the third R is reliable. And it's taken me a couple years to be reliable for Skylar. And what I mean by reliable is, can your spouse come to you in the good and come to you in the bad? Right? If they just lost a bunch of money in the business, or made a bad decision, or had someone embezzle in the company, or made a mistake with a kid, right? Or let's say when dad was on a watch, the kid broke his arm. Like, can they come to you in the good and in the bad? Or do you expect them to only come to you when things are going great? And when they're not going great, you just completely show your disapproval and don't connect with them and withdraw from them. What I've found is that Skylar, we've created this space where we can come in the good and the bad, right? And we can have great times together, but then we don't have to withdraw from each other when the other person doesn't meet our expectations, or when there's a challenge, or when there's a problem, because we know that life happens for us. So this is an opportunity for us to grow. I say often, but I love the book, the title, Sacred Marriage, because on the title of it, it says, is marriage meant to make you happy or meant to make you holy? So in the bad, right, is there an opportunity for you and your spouse to grow closer together and to be more connected and to experience a deeper emotional intimacy and physical intimacy and spiritual intimacy, right? When your spouse is struggling, are you praying over them? Like, are you present for them? Are you just there? Maybe it's even silently being there, right? When your spouse walks in the door and they're struggling, do you let that take you down and you go down with them? Or can you be the bigger one and cause, without saying anything, allow them to come out of it and move through it in their own timing? And the thing that would get in the way of being reliable and being able to come with them in the good and the bad would be expecting them to operate just like you. So I've gotten into situations where I've been in an argument with someone and they wanted to do it like right then, right there, and wanted to solve it. And I wasn't ready yet because I still had to process it. I felt like sideswiped. I didn't even know what happened. And it created conflict in the relationship because they wanted me to process right in their moment, right? So is there a way that you want your spouse to be just like you, right? I've done it with Skylar. I'm a little more clear in understanding when I feel unsettled or I feel insecure or I feel vulnerable. I can say, what I need right now is this. And sometimes when Skylar comes at it, it feels like he's attacking me when he's asking me what he needs. He'll say something like, well, you never do this. And for the longest time, I would resist that. I was like, why can't you just say it like me? Why can't you just say I need a hug? Or why can't you just say just say it? Why do you have to go roundabout? And I had to take a big deep breath for a second and be like, wait a minute, this is him doing it. This is him stepping into it. This is him asking for it. And if I resist it, I'm just going to shut that down again, right? So does your spouse have to respond and act and engage in arguments and engage in conflict and come back the way you do? Or are you willing to let them be them in all ways, in the good and the bad, and cause that to bring you guys closer together? So number 4 is resolved. And this might be the most important thing because this is the overarching theme. Does your husband or wife know that you are 100% committed to the relationship? Or when things get tough or when you guys are in an argument, do you say, I want out? Or do you use the D word, divorce, right? Do you throw divorce around like you would cookies during Christmas time. Like, is that a word that's often on the table? Because I know for me, like if I am 1 foot in and 1 foot out, and just if out is even an option, right? That I will go to that out more often than not because I don't want to feel pain. And in Rise Up Kings, that's the exact opposite path that Skylar teaches the men, is that pain is the path. And I would venture to guess that that's what the guy that wrote Sacred Marriage would say too. Is it meant to make you happy or meant to make you holy? What if that challenge is the exact challenge that the Lord wants to put you through to refine you and to make him more like you? But every time you come up against that challenge, you back out. Every time you come up against that challenge, you go to quit. Right? And so could you take divorce, or could you take separation, or could you take the idea that you guys will not be together forever off the table as a couple, so that when challenges come, when hard times come, you just know that's not even an option, and we will get through this. So we will get through this no matter what. I'm willing to do whatever it takes will allow you to withstand storms. If not, every time a challenge comes, it's going to be like taking a brick off of your ship, right? Or bricks aren't on ships, but if you had a brick wall, you're weakening the foundation. And Think and Grow Rich, a really popular personal development book, it talks about these men, and I'm going to paraphrase this bad, but they're going into battle, and the enemy has like way more people. But this army that comes in, the person leading it burns the ships. So there is no longer a way to retreat. These men either die or they win. Those were the only options, die or win. And guess what they did? Even though they were outnumbered, and even though the odds were all against them, they won and they created victory because there was no option, no way out. So can you get more resolved in your marriage around commitment that no matter what, we're figuring this out? Because if you can walk into any situation like that, then Repentant comes, because no matter what, we're in this together. I can be known, right? Then I can be responsible, right? Because how can I become better in this? Like I can take my side because you're not going to leave me, and I'm going to make mistakes, but you're not going to leave me, right? And I can be reliable in the good and the bad because I know that that bad isn't going to break us because I'm committed no matter what. So I'd love to hear what stood out for you, which of the R's was most helpful for you, which one you're committed to practicing with your spouse. And if you haven't had your spouse watch this, definitely send this to your spouse and figure out together. I would challenge you on that last one. Can you get more committed than what you are right now in your relationship? When society says divorce them, they're not good, you don't need them, go find another one. I want to challenge you the other way. They are the one. They're the path. Like that's how the Lord's going to refine you and continue to sanctify you in his walk. So if you're not subscribed, definitely subscribe below and hit the like button and send me a comment with all the great feedback.